On the hearts, yeah. On the minds of so many people in Northeast Ohio this weekend is what's going on this afternoon, right? The Browns. And yeah, it's on your hearts, in your hearts. You're so twisted. You guys are so twisted, you know? But I was talking to Father Bob about this week, and you know, the part of the reality is, you know, as rough as things have been in the past 20 years, there's really one significant difference in the team this year versus last year, and that's the coach, right? One person made a massive difference. Now, you know, it isn't that the coach can do everything, you know, I mean, he's still dependent on all 11 players on the field, you know, quarterback has to make the right reads and throw the ball well, you know, everybody else on the field has to do what they're called to do. And, you know, I was thinking about that a little bit further and remembering some of my own high school football days, and I don't remember a whole lot specifically, like I don't remember every individual play, but there's one play I remember in particular. Now, our coaches used to always preach, do your 1/11th, right? 11 people on a team on the field at the same time. If everybody does their part, their 1/11th, then the play, chances are, is going to end up well. Now, we have this one play, I played guard, right? I was the left guard, here's the center, here's the tackle. Got a quarterback and two running backs back here. We had this quick hitting pitch play to the fullback. And I would pull, this guy would block the guy over me, I'd pull, and I was supposed to get straight up in the hole and block a linebacker, right? But here was the problem. When I would get to the end of the line, there was this defensive end that nobody was blocking. One of the running backs was going to get there, and I had to trust that if I got up here to get a linebacker, that running back was going to block that guy who was unblocked. I had to trust that he was coming. But I could never do that. I saw the guy unblocked, and I just had to engage him, right? I just had to. So on this one particular play, halfway through my junior season, here we were running this play, and here I come to the end of the line, and I'm like, if I don't block this guy, this play's going to get blown up. And at the same time I engage him, the running back shows up. Ah, shoot, that's right, I got to get up here. Well, by this time, you know, the fullback is already in front of me, and I'm chasing him down, trying to, you know, knock this guy off of him. And the defensive player falls off, lands on my ankle, and I said, oh boy, that doesn't feel right. And as I laid on my back, I looked at it, and it was pointed sideways. I said, oh. So long story short, I had surgery to put the ankle back together. And my position coach came to visit in the hospital after the surgery, and the first words out of his mouth were, you missed your assignment. Thanks, coach. Thanks, right? You know, it just further illustrates, right? The reality is, in that context especially, right? If everybody does their part, you know, things will turn out well. You know, had I blocked the way I was supposed to, it would have been a 60-yard touchdown, and I would have played the rest of the season, blah, 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 you know? There's a role for all of us to play that brings out, you know, the goal in mind, right? And you know, it's like that in our faith as well. You know, we all have a particular role to play, and the Lord has a call in our hearts and on our lives to a particular way of living. And, you know, we hear in the first reading, Samuel is learning to hear that call of the Lord in his own heart, in his own life, to his particular role in the kingdom, right? In the kingdom of Israel in particular, but pointing forth to the Messiah. Eli has his particular role in that moment of helping Samuel to learn to hear the call of the Lord on his life. John the Baptist, you know, John the Baptist knows he's not the Messiah. He doesn't want to be the Messiah. He said, that's not me. I'm going to do what I'm called to do, but I'm just going to point in the direction of something greater. And when we look at the apostles, the disciples, after they answer the call of the Lord in their own lives, when things don't go well for them, it's usually when they're trying to do somebody else's job, when they're trying to do Jesus's job. So when things go well for them, it's when they're doing as they're called to do, and they make an extraordinary difference and impact on the world around them. So, you know, we see throughout the scriptures, throughout our faith, people are called to a particular role. Now, as we learn to hear the call of the Lord in our own lives, I think sometimes, you know, our hearts are moved, they're stirred, and they're moved to great things, you know. They're moved to work towards justice. They're moved to work towards reconciliation. They're moved to provide for the needs of others in so many places. They're moved to see wisdom and good leadership. They're moved at what isn't where it ought to be. But the challenge so many times for us is that, like Samuel, as he learns to hear the call of the Lord, our hearts are moved, but they respond to what's immediately in front of us. And so many times what's immediately in front of us is what we place in front of us. So, just take the context of our world today. Like our hearts are moved to do good things, right? And our hearts are moved by, the lack of wisdom, leadership at times. They're moved by the lack of cohesion amongst people. They're moved by a lack of justice. But what do we see? We see so often just, what comes to us in the media, right? We see immediately in front of us a political situation. We see immediately in front of us what's out there, right? But where does the call of the Lord come from? It comes from deep within our hearts, the temple that we are, where God dwells. That's where that call is from, and that's where that first movement for us really comes. I think about two things that help, zero us in on the response to the call of the Lord in our own hearts. And, one of them is a response of Mother Teresa that she would give to people who would visit her in Calcutta and say, I want to do what you're doing. I want to, change the world like you are. And she would say oftentimes, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. What? Well, that's your world, right? That really is your world, and that's not spectacular enough for an answer for us to get excited about because, well, we know our family. What's that going to do? No, that's the reality. There is a real connection between what we do in our actual immediate surroundings, the way we respond to God's call in our lives here and now, that really does extend beyond that immediate circle. And so, kind of on the other end, coming back a different direction, Martin Luther King Day on Monday, right? What do people remember about Martin Luther King? Well, judge him however you want, but like so often that first image in your mind is the I Have a Dream speech, right? 200,000 people on the National Mall listening to this speech, rallying for justice. And, that wasn't the first thing he did. Right? Nobody remembers the one-on-one conversations, the small groups, the small stirrings in private environments, right? That began the movement that he was so much a part of. It didn't begin with 200,000 people in a great speech. It started with one-on-ones and the stirrings of his heart. And his heart, I think he only had one, but put those two things together. The call of the Lord comes from deep within your heart, and the first thing we respond to isn't necessarily something out there. It's right here, and it's right here in our immediate surroundings, right? The Lord certainly has a call coming from deep within your heart, and he has a call on your life. And we really do need to trust that the way that we love and the way that we respond to those immediately around us really is connected to the bigger picture. And it really does grow and increase, not just in that area, but out throughout the world. Those concentric circles building to greater areas. So as we, enter into this week that, just further highlights the challenges of our nation, we need to turn back to the call within our hearts. Right? We really need to turn back there. Certainly there's going to be enough out there that grabs our attention, and that's not the call of the Lord from outside of yourself, right? That's not the call of the Lord. The call of the Lord comes from within your hearts. And so as we go through this week, it's important for us to take some time in the quiet that allows us to be driven deeper into our hearts where we can find the Lord and listen quietly for his call. We filled our minds enough with what's going on out there, but to turn deeper into our hearts and listen for his call. And as we hear it, as we listen for it, to respond in our immediate surroundings. But as well, and truly to do this, to actually set aside time and pray for our nation as well, and know and trust and ask the Lord to bring that connection to us, recognizing that our individual lives, when we do our part, really does make a difference. And when we all do what we're called to do, when we all do our role, it certainly makes a more dramatic impact on what happens out there. So when we all do our part, we really do work towards the goal and make the difference towards achieving it that we so desire. So let the Lord into your heart today, and this week, make some space for him so that you might listen. His call is in your heart and on your lives. And may we work together doing what we're called individually to do so that collectively he might draw us deeper and deeper into that peace that he so desires here and now, in the building up of the kingdom on earth, but ultimately in the everlasting peace of eternal life.